Hello and welcome. I'm really looking forward to today's little live chat around converting connections to conversations with LinkedIn. I'm Bryn Tillman. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to walking us all through how to really make the most out of LinkedIn. So I'm the CEO of Social Sales Link. I'm also the co-founder of The Modern Banker. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some of the top activities that you can do right now to convert your LinkedIn connections to trust-based sales conversations. If you are interested in more resources, you can go to socialsaleslink.com/library or scan the code. Again, that's socialsaleslink.com/library. So let's jump in to today's topic, which is using LinkedIn to start conversations, right? This is our goal. So you could ask 100 LinkedIn trainers what their definition is of social selling. This is ours. Social selling is about building rapport, providing real value, developing trust and credibility by being a resource, understanding that the sales will come when the time is right. So here's what we hear from sales professionals every day. I have thousands of connections, but no conversations. Or when I ask for conversations from prospects, I get ghosted. Another one, I share content, yet no one's engaging on it. And the big one is everyone says I need to be using LinkedIn, but I can't figure out exactly how to do this successfully. Well, here's what's broken. Number one, our profiles are self-centered or resume-centered, not value-centric. We're going to talk about that. This is the big one, the connect and pitch. I am sure everyone watching this call right now, watching this video, has been a victim of connect and pitch. In fact, if you've been a victim of connect and pitch, feel free to put a V in comments, right? Well, if we've been a victim of connect and pitch, we don't want to be the victimizers. So we want to make sure that we are not solely focused on the message we want others to see. And we're more focused on a message that resonates with them and brings value. The next one is connect and forget. We are all guilty of this. In fact, we're told that 10% on average, 10% of our connections are people we want to have a conversation with, yet we're ignoring them. So if you have 1,000 connections, that means there are 100 people in your network right now that you're ignoring that you'd love to be having a conversation with. And I see all kinds of V's coming in now. Yeah. The next one is random acts of social. This is we show up, but we don't really have a plan. We like, we engage, we accept a connection request, but it just doesn't really have a purpose. And if we're going to use this for business development, we need to have a plan, just like any other sales activity. The big one, post and ghost. They all tell me I need to put out content, so I post, but nobody engages. Well, part of that is because we post and ghost. There's so much we could do with content and getting it in front of the right people purposefully to create engagement that starts those trust-based conversations. Another thing that's broken is sharing topics sales want to talk about, not what the prospect wants to consume. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how this is so broken. We as salespeople love our products and services, and we can't wait to tell people how we've helped other people like them solve problems. But those folks are not actively looking for a solution right now. So when we start talking about what we want them to know versus what they want to consume, we lose them. Now, we'll talk about how do we balance the two today. And to me, this is why, this last one is why I have chosen to teach LinkedIn for sales across the board with every platform out there. This is the thing that makes LinkedIn so valuable. The opportunity to identify who our network knows that we want to know and get referrals and permission to drop names of clients. So the mistake is we're not doing it. That's what's broken. So let's talk about how to fix all this stuff, right? Like, what do we do to fix this? Well, the first thing is the mindset needs to be, we need to lead to our solution, not with it. And it's a small reframing. So one of the things to think about is, what is my differentiator? What is the solution that I bring to the table? And instead of telling people I do this or I help people with this, how can I reframe that to be education and insights? So for example, I was talking with someone today who helps HR people lower their turnover of staff, reduce their turnover. So in that conversation, we recognized he had some really wonderful insights. But instead of saying we help HR professionals do this, it's reframed to, here are things HR people can do to reduce talent turnover. So I want you to start thinking about, what is my solution and how do I reframe it from this is what I sell to here are some insights that when you get value from them, you're more interested to have a conversation with me. And that huge mindset shift, well, let's say it's not a huge mindset set. Tongue-tied. It's not a huge mindset shift, but it has a huge impact, right? It's a small shift that actually has a big impact. And I'm going to say, side note, if you guys are solely using ChatGPT to write your content, ChatGPT seems to me like it thinks like a salesperson. And when you ask for insights, it will give you pitch. So it's just a big warning that if you are using it well, and we talk about AI all the time, I'm absolutely happy to chat about this, make sure that it's insights, not selling, right? That's the leading to our solution, not with it. When we lead with it, it's a sale. So this is going to start with your profile. And we want to move the profile from a resume to a resource. So why do we say this? You know, LinkedIn started off really as this job recruiting tool, right? It started out as, a place for my resume. And so the profile generally is still built out that way, and LinkedIn will encourage you to fill out your profile that way. But when you fill out a resume, if you're in sales, you're talking about, I made President's Club, I'm a top negotiator, right? Those are the things that will repel your prospects. Your prospects don't want to hear what a great salesperson that you are. They want to hear, what value can this person bring to the table for me and for my company and for my team? And so that is where we start to earn the right to get the conversation by our profile ultimately shifting from that resume to a resource. So we're going to cover just the top line on this. We definitely go deeper in many of our ebooks. If you actually go to socialsaleslink.com/library or /membership, you will be able to sign up for our free library where you can get tons of content that will go deeper on the profile. But I do want to touch just, I think, 3 pieces here, maybe 4. Headline: who do you help? How do you help them? The results that you bring to them and what you do, in literally 220 characters. Why? Because if we start with account manager or account rep or field account representative or SDR at ABC company, and the very first message your buyers see is that you're in sales, they're going to jump. You lose them. And by the way, this is not called your title. This is called your headline. So let's make it a headline. So write down, who do you help? How do you help them? The results you bring and what you do. And I'd encourage you to take a look at my profile, at some of my colleagues' headlines, Stan Robinson, Bob Woods, Jack Hubbard, Roderick Jefferson. Take a look at the headlines and see how this is not just about our title and our company name. It's about ultimately attracting our buyers to say, hey, you work with me, you help people like me, here's what I could expect if I worked with you, and this is what you do. I have now, in 220 characters, earned the right for them to care to keep scrolling down the profile. Okay. The next area I want to focus on is the about section. And rather than making it all about you, and by the way, all about you can go into your experience. I don't have a problem with it about you, but you haven't earned the right for them to care about you yet. So let's make this about being a resource, earning the right to get that conversation. And typically we will start with, here is the challenge that my buyers face. Now I capture them. They go, ooh, she gets me. He gets me. That's my challenge, right? This is huge. The next one are your insights, right? So now, again, this is where we can reframe what we do to be tips and educational. Here are some insights. And they go, ooh, that's interesting. I haven't thought of that. And when you do that, you are now earning the right for them to care about how you might be able to help them. And by the way, this is one quick line or two, and then a quick line or two of the results they can expect. And potentially, this is optional, but potentially social proof. A quote from a client. Now, I've actually moved this to in my featured section, where I can actually, if you have a premium account, you can highlight your recommendations in your featured section. But it should be relatively easy to put in one quote from a client at something that you did that was phenomenal. And then a call to action. Everywhere, they should have your email, your calendar link, and even your phone number. In fact, we have someone on right now that called 5 minutes before we went live with a question, and I was able to answer it. And so he's here, which is great, right? So we want to make sure that we are easy to call, easy to access. So if that person is in the audience, just say, hey, it was me. And yes, it was easy to get her phone number and she answered, right? And that's really what it's about, that we are able to do that. Services. This is new. It's still in beta, and it's career changing, life changing. If you want to add this, you can add to profile. The third one down is services if you don't have this yet. But if you just add it to your profile, you can choose up to 10 categories of services. Most people don't have 10 categories. 3 or 4 are fine. But why is this so important? I'm going to talk about what to do with this, but why is this so important? 3 reasons. Number 1, when you have this on your profile, a request services button shows up on your profile and it follows you. So if you looked at any of the content I'm sharing, right under my name, it says request services. When you click through request services, it gives you, here are the drop downs of the services that I provide, that you provide. And then it will ask you questions about a project. I have now closed 3 pieces of business through this feature where people would not have found me otherwise. So I think I said, so that was number 1. Number 2 is people can actually search if you go into, in the free LinkedIn, if you go into your search bar and hit enter, services is now something that's searchable. So if you search for services based on you having this feature open in your profile, along with the size of your network, and there's some other algorithm pieces around that, you can come up in that search. And number 3 is, this really is the place where you can pitch your services. This is where you can share your solutions. That's what it's meant for. So this is where you can sell. So highly recommend you taking a look at that. So for you guys that live in the audience, if you're like, I am going to put in services, I'm committing to adding services to my profile, put an exclamation mark in chat. If you're like, I already have it, let's see, what are we going to do? Put a percentage mark in chat. So if I'm committing to putting this onto my profile, let's see an exclamation point. Otherwise, let's see a percentage if you're like, I already have it. Just curious how many folks have this. All right. I'm going to quickly go through experience, but this is your story. This is how you help your clients. This is about the company, and this is your solutions. If they got down to your experience, you've really earned the right. So that is very exciting. So make sure when they get here, thank you, Alex. Alex has done. Awesome. And Stan's is done. I love it. So we're in this experience. Make sure you've got your story, your why. I'll tell you, we will go into ChatGPT and we'll say, act like Simon Sinek and ask me why questions to be able to articulate my why, right? And you can go through, I don't know if you know Simon Sinek, but he's got this amazing, I think it's a TED Talk, but I've watched it 50 times. I'm not even sure if it's probably not a TED Talk because he's on a whiteboard. But he has a YouTube talk on the why, right? So that why is what people connect with. So figure out your why. And if you have questions on like a prompt that can help you with this, if you are in socialsaleslink.com/library or you join, it's free. There is a community where you can ask a question and say, can I have the why prompt? And either Stan, Bob, and I will get that to you. So awesome. Next in line, we're going to talk about nurturing your existing network. So now we've positioned our profile to start with some real activity because that was just the foundation. We haven't even really started yet. So nurturing your network. So most people understand this, but I am going to review it anyway. There's you, that's your profile. That's what we just did. Then there's your first degree connections. These are people that you've mutually agreed to connect with. They asked you to connect and you said yes. You asked them to connect and they said yes. And so you both are connected. When you have a first degree connection, you can message them unlimited until they block you. So don't do it unlimited, but it does give you that opportunity to message. You also, depending on someone's settings, have the opportunity to search their connections. And you will automatically be following them. So their content, generally, at least for the first 2 weeks, will start to show up on your newsfeed. And then if you engage on that, you'll continue to see their content and vice versa. Those are your first degree connections. Your second degree connections are the friends of your friends. You have the ability to search and filter your connections to identify who in your network knows who you want to know. Essentially, and I'm going to date myself, but this is the ability to search your connections Rolodexes. If you ever had a Rolodex, put an R in chat. If you're like, what the heck is a Rolodex? Put a question mark in. I had a Rolodex. I had lots of business cards stapled to my Rolodex, right? And so those are my first degree connections. The magic here, and again, this is why I fell in love with LinkedIn, is I have access to almost every one of my first degree connections Rolodexes. And so we're going to talk about first our first degree connections, and thirds, they're cold. So, Rolodex from John. Did you have 4 Rolodexes, or are you just rolling your R's? Sorry. Okay, let's start with our first degree connections. Who have we been ignoring? So this is really important, right? Who have we been ignoring? We talked about this a little bit in the front end of this. 10% of our network are typically people we want to have conversations with. Clients, referral partners, prospects, centers of influence. So we want to start by taking inventory. Before we start going net new, let's take a look at our current network. Really important. Well, the first thing we can do is export our connections. This is, you can take a screenshot if you'd like, but if you're in our community and you drop, hey, can you drop me a link to export my connections? We can drop a link directly into where to export your connections. But when you export your connections, you get first name, last name, email address. Now, not everyone's email is listed, but we get company name, position, and the date you connected. We then add a column in the left-hand side for CPR, client, prospect, referral partner. And we go in and we take inventory. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick little story. And this is a little old now because it was during the pandemic. But my friend Michelle was in temporary staffing, a lot of manufacturing. COVID hit. She lost a lot, all their manufacturing businesses shut down. She had all these people to put to work, and she did this exercise. And she took a look at everyone that she was connected to, and she recognized an old client was now at a hospital healthcare system. And guess what they needed? They needed all of her people to go to work, and she put people to work. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to take inventory of our connections, right? And there's story after story like this, right? Yeah, so Alex said so many business cards. Here, let me see if I pull this in for a second. So many business card boxes full of business cards that will never be seen. I know that's so true. I always talk about the big business card pile with the rubber band around it in the corner of your desk. Like everyone had one of those. So we talked about exporting our connections. Another way to take inventory is to search our connections. And if you go into LinkedIn and you go to the search bar and you hit enter, there's a whole world of filters that will open up to you. And if you go into all filters, and I like to search by people, but you can search by companies, you can search by posts, by events, and services. But in this case, we're talking about people. So we want to search by title, keywords, location, relationship. First degree is where we're starting. We're talking about taking inventory. What industries do you work with? There's a lot of fabulous filters in the free LinkedIn. The key is to click that first degree connection, because that first degree connection is going to give you a very narrow list or targeted list of exactly the people you want to talk to. So you have 1,000 people and you export your connections. It's a lot of people to review. But if you can build out your search, right, and you can really identify, here's my ICP, my targeted buyer persona, right? If I can find that out based on LinkedIn filters, I can get a list of all of my first degree connections. And guess what? You can message them directly. And we'll talk about what we can do to message them directly, right? So next is you want to go out and ring the bell. So ringing the bell, we talked about a little bit. If you connect with someone new or you follow someone, there is a little bell in the top right side underneath your background banner. When you click that bell, you have 3 choices. You can mute the bell, You can have all notifications or relevant notifications. I always do, or almost always do, relevant notifications, or you're going to get a lot of noise in your news feed, right? You're going to get a lot of noise in your news feed. So make sure you're going to your prospects, your referral partners, right? We've just taken inventory of these people that I want to engage with. Go ring their bell, right? This is the first thing. Now, I don't have to go out and figure out all the time how to engage, or when to engage, or what to find. By ringing their bell, I'm now going to get a notification when they share content. So if I identify 100 people that I want to engage, the first thing we should do is go ring their bell, and they're a first degree connection, so that bell will be there. Go to their profile, ring the bell. Oh, and by the way, their LinkedIn URL, I have to update my slide, because now, about 4 or 5 months ago, that export will be their LinkedIn URL. So and it's in an Excel spreadsheet, you'll be able to click right from that spreadsheet to visit their profile. So you can actually, I go, oh, I want to stay on this person's radar. I click on that URL, I ring their bell, I go back to my list. It's really a great way. And once we ring their bell, we will now have the opportunity to engage when they share. It's just a personal notification, a notification that you can jump in and engage. And by the way, before I get to this, often we talk about the 10-to-1 ratio. You should be engaging 10 times more than you share. And from what we understand, if you do 5 times that you're engaging and then you share a piece of content, and then 5 times, lots of things happen, including the people you're engaging with will start to see your content. Yes, I said that right. You have some control over who's seeing your content. When you engage with them, they start to see your content. Ring that bell, engage with their content. The other thing is, people are sharing content because they really want people to engage. So when you engage, you matter more to them than any content you could possibly share, right? That matters more to them. So if you never share content, but you're engaging with your prospects' content and your referral partners' content and your clients' content, you are going to have great success. This is another thing that we recommend everyone does. Remember, I said there's all of these filters, right? If you go into the search filter and hit enter, and you have all of these lovely filters, one of them is companies. Well, you can go in and pick company size, industry, location, and then there's first degree connection. And you are going to be blown away, because what this list is this looks at every one of your connections and gives you a list of all of the companies that are represented by those first degree connections. So you can go through this list and say, boy, I'd love to get into this company. And you're like, oh, 7 people I know work there, or 1 person I know works there. And you're able to reach out to them and say, hey, this is high on my list. I'm wondering, can you just give me about 15 minutes, talk to me about the culture in your company and what you like about it before I reach out? And now you've got this insider conversation, and you may even get a warm introduction internally. So taking inventory of all the companies where you already have a first degree connection can be a huge game changer. All right, let's move into the content side of things, because it's not social media if we don't have content, right? So this is what we believe social selling content needs to do. Not all content. Social selling content is designed to start trust-based conversations without being salesy. So what does it need to do? Number 1, it needs to resonate with your buyers. They need to go, ooh, this content is for me. So if you're selling into HR, then it needs to say HR professionals, and they go, when they're scrolling, like, ooh, that's me. This is for me. I see my title, right? That's what we resonate. We resonate with our name. We resonate with our brand. We resonate with our title. So if I'm selling into HR professionals, my social selling content needs to start out first line with two elements. The first one is resonate. The second one is create curiosity, right? So what is it? What's broken? So maybe, or tips, or strategies, or anything where they're going to lead, or maybe it's trends or statistics, right? So if we're starting with this content and it says 15, well, that's a lot. That's okay. 15 statistics all HR professionals need to know about retaining talent, top talent. Okay, great. I've done two things, hopefully. I'm looking at HR professionals and I'm looking at people who are interested in retaining top talent. Notice I'm not leading with my solution. I'm leading to my solution. That's not my solution. This was my client that I talked to today. Right? So think about, right? Resonate. Who are you talking to? What's going to get them to lean in? And now, this is critical, the next two steps, teach them something new that they didn't know before. If it's neutral content, why would they even want to talk to you? But if you can teach them something new where they go, oh, and then what you just taught them gets them thinking differently about their current situation, now you've won them over. You've now ultimately got them to go, that's interesting. I wonder how that would work in my company. And if all goes well, we create a compelling moment. And sometimes we have to ask for it, right? Today, I asked for compelling moments. But I compelled some folks to do something. Put in a V if you've been a victim. Put in an exclamation point if you're going to add services, right? Those are creating a compelling moment. I know you're here. I moved you from lurker to engager or spectator to engager by asking those compelling moments. We want to do that in all of our content because we can't start a conversation with someone that we don't know if we don't know they're there, right? So the conversation, we need to start to create that. All right, this is one of my favorite statistics, but it's getting old, but that's okay. I think it's just gone up. But Corporate Visions did a study that says 74% of buyers choose the sales rep that was first to add value and insight. 3/4 of our buyers are choosing the sales rep that provided value and insight early on in the buyer process, in the buying journey, right? Not on price, not on rate, but on value and insight. And it's our content that starts that, right? It's our content that starts that. So we need to get that compelling content and we need to start conversations. Really important. This is one of my favorites, starting the conversation from curated content. I go out, I use HubSpot content, I'll use content from Sales Gravy, I'll go out and use Social Media Examiner content. I'll go out and find podcasts that are relevant to my buyers, right? And I listen to it or I read it because you don't want to talk about something that you have not consumed yourself. I recently came across an article on ABC, and I thought as a CEO in the XYZ industry, you might get some value from it. The most interesting insights I gleaned were DEF and GHI, right? But now I say, if you're interested, let me know. I'd be happy to send you a link. I didn't send the link. I asked permission to send a link. Now, this comes down to one of our number one tenets, which is you need to slow down your outreach to speed up your outcome. You have to pace it. And by the way, we A/B test this. We tested this. We sent 100 people, first degrees. We took inventory, first degrees. We sent 100 people a link and 19 clicked through. And we thought, hey, that's a pretty good ROI. And then we moved to this with permission to name drop. Name drop. That's coming up. I skipped a slide with permission to send content. So now it's if you're interested. So I get them excited. Here's the takeaways. And then let me know if you would like the link. So the people that we asked, would you like the link? 69 people asked for the link and 58 clicked through. Huge difference in numbers. I don't 100% know why, but I think, I really deeply think there's FOMO, fear of missing out. If I don't ask you for it, I'll never get it. So if I sent it, they could always come back. Number two, I think there's a respect in the inbox. I respected their inbox. I'm not spamming. Everyone is so used to being spammed that this permission kind of opens it up a little bit. And they say, you know what? That was very respectful. And they're more likely to want that link. This is another fun one, starting conversations from their own content. So I use Sales Navigator, and I get to see content all the time from my saved accounts. But you can create Google alerts. You can look at press releases, lots of things you can do. But when you get an article or a piece of content where that company was mentioned in the news, this is a really great time to re-engage. I recently came across an article congratulating your company for the community service they did over the last few months, and I was quite impressed. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read it yet, as I often find CEOs can miss their own press. Either way, I thought I'd send it and say congratulations. I will send a link to their own press. I don't think they're going to feel spammed when it's a link to Forbes where they've been mentioned, right? This is a great way to engage. It's also, if you have Sales Navigator, this is a great in-mail approach. You have a high likelihood of someone accepting an in-mail when it's about them versus when it's about you. And I have some clients that have done this in connection requests, and the CEOs accept because they're like, oh, I didn't see that. Or if they did, they go, yes, I did, but thank you for mentioning it, right? It's about them, and that's what they love. I also love starting conversations from polls. Now, we have a whole prospect by poll campaign, but essentially this is about finding the people that we want to engage with. Putting out a poll, yeah, it has a little discovery-ish in it, but generally it's a poll. Here's the magic, that they want to see what their peers are voting on. We say that again. It's not necessarily that I'm dying to vote on this, but I want to see how other people are voting on this. So when you develop the poll, that is really important. We really want to make sure that we're putting out a poll. Why? This is one thing that LinkedIn does brilliantly. You can see how many people have voted on a poll, but you can't see the results of the poll until you vote. So it encourages more votes. The more votes you get, the more people will see it, the more votes you'll get. Now, we're in sales. This is not marketing, it's social selling. So we don't want to post and ghost. We don't want to put out the poll and hope and pray that people are going to come vote. So here we just took inventory. We have 100 people we want to engage. We can actually send this poll into the inbox of our first degree connections 10 at a time. So you send, and it's blind copied, and you can put in a little note. As a CEO, I'd love your one-click vote. Once the poll closes, I'd be happy to share the insights that we glean and where you benchmark to your peers. You send it out, and about 20% of your first degree connections that you send this to will vote. And now we've moved them from a connection to the first step of a conversation. And we've got lots of processes around now. How do you convert it from that conversation, from that poll to a conversation? And a lot of it is pulling together content that you found in the poll and reaching out. Maybe you get them to quote on the blog post that you're writing about the poll results. and you get on a call and you really start to build that rapport. We have really strict, no, that's not the word. We're very process driven around this, but the concept really is we just want to get to know you. We want to share insights with you, have a real conversation. And if something is triggered in that conversation, I can come back and say, Stan, I really enjoyed our conversation. I heard you say this and I've been thinking about it. I have some ideas for you. Are you open to another call? And so again, we're slowing down the outreach to speed up the outcome. And, send them personalized video messages or audio messages from the LinkedIn mobile app. Your first degree connections, again, unlimited messages, send them a little video. Send them a little video saying, hey, I've got some really great content that we published. If you're interested, let me know. I'll send you a link, right? This really connects with people. I actually love this when you first connect with someone, that this becomes their first experience with you, or if you're following up from meeting them in person. Now maybe you had a networking meeting where there were 700 people and they're not going to remember you, but now they will. And then when you reach out in 6 months from now and they're like, how do I know them? They have your video. Very powerful. And you're really connecting human to human. And as of today, there's no AI that's going to be faster or better than you saying, hey, Stan, great meeting you at ABC networking meeting. I'm looking forward to continuing our conversation. I'll do that again. Hey, Stan, great meeting you at the networking meeting. I'm looking forward to continuing our conversation. Please let me know your preferred way of scheduling. If it happens to be via calendar link, here's mine. Now, remember, I've already talked to them. We've already said I've already talked to Stan. So I'm not, the permission was, at the networking meeting, we connected, we said we're going to have a follow-up call. It's okay at that point. But respect them by saying, please let me know your preferred way. Because Stan may say, my preferred way is for me to send you my link. So you do the work. Okay, that's fine with me. And last, we're going to cover referrals and permission to name drop. So this is leveraging our second degree connections, our connections of our connections, right? The people in our network that know the people we want to know. And typically it's around client referrals and networking introductions. So with a networking partner, invite them to search your connections, you search theirs. You can review the lists when you're together and whittle them down. And if you're in a BNI group or a LaTip or any referral group, or you just have some really great networking and referral partners, this is such an incredible exercise to do. Right? So you review, maybe you get 30 names, you bring it down to 4 or 5, you exchange introduction paragraphs, and you make and receive introductions. Client referrals, search their connections, make a list, review the list, and either ask them to make introductions, or what I prefer now is permission to name drop. So, Mr. Client, I really enjoyed working with you. I hope you don't mind, but I noticed you're connected to quite a few people that I'm looking to get in front of. Can I quickly run these names by you and get your thoughts? And I bring up the list. Maybe it's on a Zoom call. And I go through it. And of the 30 names, there are 7. They goes, yeah, these would be great for you. So I may say, but depending on my relationship, is there anyone on this list you'd feel comfortable introducing me to? Or what I do say now is when I reach out to them, can I tell them we had this conversation, that you said hello, and that I've been working with you for the last couple of years? And now I get a yes, and I keep control of the sales cycle, and I'm able to reach out to those 7 people, and I can say, Alex, Stan Robinson and I were chatting the other day. Your name came up in conversation. He says hello. I've been working with Stan for the last few years on doing this, this, and this, and he thought I might be able to bring some value even if we don't work together. Let's connect and I'll loop you in on the conversation. Now we connect. Thanks for connecting, Alex, per Stan's recommendation. I'd love to share some insights around X, Y, and Z. Please let me know your preferred way of scheduling. If it happens to be via calendar link, here's mine. And now we have progressed to a trust-based conversation. But here's the thing, when we do this, this is where we can fall into trouble. So this is the massive warning. This is where we might fall into connect and pitch, or show up and pitch, or we get on a phone and the first thing I want to do is talk about how I help people like them. And the whole thing can fall apart. And Alex will go back to Stan and say, what the heck? You set me up on a sales call? Stan would never do that. So you have to make sure, number one, that you keep your relationship with the referrer intact. Number two, we need to make sure that we provide value, that we master the ask offer ratio, that the value we bring, that I bring to Alex on that call, the value that I bring to him is significantly worth more than the time he spent with me. And when I can nail that, and there's an opportunity, I'll get the sale every single time. So thank you so much for joining. It was a very nice turnout. We're thrilled to have you here. We've got folks on YouTube and on LinkedIn. If it's in you, we'd love to hear your takeaways in chat. Just let us know some of your takeaways, what you got out of today, if you found value in it. But I cannot thank you, our network, my community enough, because without you, this would just be really boring, me talking into a computer. So no, I really appreciate you. And you guys make us better every single day because you come with your questions. So I'm going to say, if you enjoyed this, join our free library. Once a month, you'll be able to come to a complimentary coaching session where Stan Robinson, Bob Woods, and I are available to answer some of your questions. If you are part of a bank, you're going to want to go to themodernbanker.com/public library, because that's all around banks. If you are not a bank credit union, you want to go to socialsaleslink.com/library. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate John saying, great job today, Bryn. Have to get on another call. That's okay, John. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. And let's say excellent, well done. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. And I just love this. It brings me joy. So I hope that it's bringing you guys success. Thanks so much, and we'll see you